it's Lauren here. So today I'm making a short video about injuries in answer to some of your questions, and this video is going to focus specifically on knee injuries. So the first part of the video we're going to look at why knee injuries are so common within yoga, and the second part of the video we're going to look at what we can do to avoid them. So why are knee injuries so common in yoga practice? Well, many of us will have spent the majority of our adult life sitting in chairs. And what that does is that can lead to chronically tight muscles around our hip joint. And then we come to our yoga practice and we're asking our body, our hip joint in particular, to do a lot of external rotation. So movements like this, which are common in the Ashtanga Yoga Primary series. So we're asking our body to do a lot of these movements. If we haven't got the necessary functionality of movement within our hip joint, that's when injuries can occur. So there's two types of injuries that we commonly see around the knee joint within yoga practice. So the first one occurs when we're externally rotating our hip joint. So that might be in an asana like Ardha Baddha, Padma, Paschimottanasana. So anything where we're asking our hip joint to move into a half lotus or even a full lotus. So it could also be Marichasana B or Marichasana D. So a knee joint is a hinge joint. That means that it functions optimally when bending or straightening. Okay, problems can occur within the knee when it's kind of moving, twisting from side to side. So that's when our knee joint becomes more vulnerable. And what can happen when we're asking our hip joint to externally rotate to make this half lotus shape is that our thigh bone and our shin bone can move in opposite directions, and that's when the twisting occurs. And what that does is it puts a lot of pressure on the cartilage within our knee joint. So we've got these two discs of cartilage within our knee joint called the meniscus each one. And then what happens is when our thigh bone moves in the opposite direction to our shin bone, these discs can get pinched and sometimes they can tear. And if they tear, that can be very painful, and it might often, many times people have to have surgery, or it can just take a long time to heal. Okay, so that's the first injury. The second injury that we might commonly see in yoga is through the collateral ligaments, so the ligaments at the side of our knee. This might happen when you're doing something like Tiryan Mukha, or maybe if you're practicing another style of yoga, Virasana, because we're actually putting a lot of pressure on these joints on either side of the knee. And then they can, if we're unlucky, then those ligaments can also tear. So when we're looking at avoiding injury in our knee joint, it's always important that we proceed with care. So to begin with today, we're going to look at how to safely enter half lotus or half Padmasana. Okay, so just going to move back a little bit. So first things first, you want to think about extending away through your heel and spreading your toes. That activates the whole of our leg and it helps to protect our knee. So from here, my leg's nice and active. I'm pushing away through my heels so that I'm flexing my foot back towards me. And then I'm going to start to think about the action that I want to happen in my hip joint. So that's external rotation. So I'm going to try and make as much of that external rotation movement as I can without using my hands. Okay, so I'm trying to make that movement in my hip. And then what I want to avoid doing is kind of pulling my leg towards me. Okay, you want to gently think about receiving your leg, supporting it with your hands, and then guiding it into place. So we're always being gentle here. And we want to make sure that we never kind of force our knee down towards the floor. Okay, so that's really important. Some people's knee, if their hips open, maybe it will naturally fall down to the floor. It could also depend on the length of their leg. So yeah, some people's knee will be on the floor. Mine isn't, as you can see. I'm not going to push it down there. I'm just going to let it be where it is. And then providing at this point that there's no pain or pinching in my knee joint, I'm going to reach my hand around for Ardha Baddha, Padma, Paschimottanasana, and then you can exhale and fold forward. Okay? So that's one way to do it. If you do feel any kind of pinching in your knee when you do that, what you can do is you can take a towel that's rolled up and just kind of put it in between your knee joint. And then we're going to repeat that action. So we're spreading the toes, extending away through your heel, and then as much of the movement as you can, you want to try and isolate that happening in your hip joint without using your hands. And then for the last bit, you're going to receive your foot with your hands and bring it into place. Okay, so sometimes people find that that extra kind of space in the knee joint actually helps to relieve a bit of pressure, so the space that's created from the towel. Okay, so that's one way to do things. And again, I would never fold forward if I felt any pain in my knee, and I wouldn't advise anyone to do that, because kind of the action of the forward bend just puts a bit more pressure on your knee. Equally, with any kind of adjustment, it's important that you always let your teacher know if you're feeling any kind of discomfort within the knee. Okay, so that's one way to do it. If you're still feeling some discomfort there, you can always maybe pop a block underneath your leg as well. Okay, so that's one way that you can do that within half lotus. If you think about when we're coming out of our half lotus as well, particularly if we're somewhere like that, we always want to straighten the leg and then very carefully release the half lotus in the same way that you came into it. Okay, so release and then straighten your leg. So you're doing that action carefully. Okay, same thing if you're doing maybe Janushirshasana A and you've got a little bit of pain in the outside of your knee. Same thing, foot flex, externally rotate. We're going to let that movement happen in our hip joint rather than using our hands. And if you've got any pain in your knee, you can always pop a block underneath. Again, don't fold forward if you have any discomfort. Another way that people sometimes find is helpful to relieve any pressure in the knee is to just bring the foot slightly closer to your straight leg. And again, folding forward is always optional. And if you find that you're getting discomfort kind of on one side and not the other, and you are working on the Janushirshasana asanas, then I would always suggest that when you get to Janushirshasana B, on the side where you've got the pain, you can always try repeating A or try repeating one of these options. Okay, so that's for Janushirshasana. And then the last one that we want to look at is for Tirayambukha Ekapada Paschimottanasana. And again, sometimes it's common, as we talked about, to get some discomfort maybe around the inside of the knee joint. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the blocks. I'm going to lean over to my left because I'm starting with my right side, and I'm going to bring my leg around and I'm going to slide the block underneath. So you actually want to have the block underneath the buttock of your straight leg. Okay, so again from here, don't fold forward. If it's increasing the pressure in your knee joint, stay where you are. If one block isn't working, you're very welcome to maybe get 2 or 3 and see how you go with that. If that still doesn't work, you've got your towel as well, and you can pop your towel behind your knee, and again that's making a bit more space behind the knee joint. So you're very welcome to try any of these options during your practice, see how that works for you. As always, don't push into pain. If you feel like you've got an injury, then seek professional support, and always let your teacher know where you're at. If you're working with any pain or discomfort, you're always welcome to also say no to an adjustment if you think that it's going to be uncomfortable in any way. So thanks for watching. Bye.